Hello, everyone. I am Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby here with the amazing Jocelyn Bioh, writer of Jaja's African Hair Braiding, an amazing new play on Broadway this season. And this marked your Broadway debut as a playwright,
Yeah.
but you previously were there as an actress, Curious Incident, and you've been an actor in many other things. Was it always your intention to be both performer and writer? How do you kind of balance those two different worlds?
Yeah, totally. It was absolutely my intention to do both. I initially thought I was going to like do one woman shows. Like I thought I was going to like be like a solo show girl. I still have yet to write that a show. Maybe one day I will. I feel like actually I want to, but I always wanted to do both. I fell in love with writing very late in college. And a professor told me that I had a good ear for dialogue and it's something I should continue to pursue. And so when I went to graduate school, I applied to some schools as an actor and some schools as a writer. And then when I got into Columbia's MFA playwriting program, I just figured I'd roll the dice. But once I was out of school, I jumped back into auditioning as well. So I knew I could figure it out. I was like, if Tracy Letts can figure it out, not that I'm on his level, but if he can figure it out, then so can I. And it's been a really great journey.
Well, the dialogue in Jaja's is certainly incredible. What I really, what really spoke to me is the very specific dynamics of all of these characters that really jump off of the stage in
Mhm.
this production. I felt like I knew them at the end. Like, how do you hone in on character relationships like that?
Well, character is kind of where I start from. I feel like all of my work is like character-driven narratives. I sometimes I don't actually know where I'm going. I just know what the character is, and I'll just start writing and see what they say, see where it kind of leads me. But the hair braiding shop, which like is a place I essentially grew up in. I'm from New York, born and raised. I'm first generation Ghanaian. And I've been getting my hair braided since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I've been in these shops like at least 50% of my life, it seems. So I know that they're ripe with like really cool, interesting characters, not just the women who work there, but even the customers who come in and out. I think, and that's why any of those kind of workplace comedies, work, whether it's film, TV, or theater, because it's a very unique cast of characters. And the things they say, the things they're passionate about, getting into each other's business, like all of that feels like just really fun and fresh and a good place for a writer to play. So I really just wrote what I kind of knew or what I have experienced or what I imagine some of these conversations would be. And out came 17 different characters.
Yeah, I couldn't believe, I didn't realize that some of these, braiding jobs, you're there the entire day in that
Yeah.
chair.
Hmm.
So the dynamic between the relationship that forms between the stylist and the customer is so rich in this
Yeah.
play. It can be like a friend or a therapy session, or in one case, very adversarial. What does that kind of, forced togetherness there add to your writing?
I think there is also something so intimate about someone performing a task for you, whether it's like getting your hair done, whether it's getting your nails done, the dentist. I just had a baby, so I had a very close relationship with my OBGYN. There's a real like vulnerability that you have with people that you're trusting your body to. And I think the play kind of speaks to that kind of like vulnerability, that intimacy, that friendship that you can develop with someone. And yeah, the braiding shop. I mean, look, I wish I was going to if Jajas existed in real life, I wish I was going there because it's like actually only a few braiders in there. It doesn't seem like it gets too packed. Most of the braiding shops I've been to or I go to are like overstuffed. There's like 40 people in there. You're in a cramped space, so you kind of have to like figure it out for 4 to 12 hours. And yeah, so but it's a breeding ground. It's a breeding ground for that kind of like intimacy conversation. And yeah, and sometimes therapy.
Yeah. And the cast that was assembled to bring this to life
Oh my
does
God.
an incredible job at finding so much nuance in each character. Do you ever make an adjustment or have an idea to change something based on what an actor is bringing to the role?
All the time. And I think that that's been my experience as an actor as well. You know, I have a really close relationship and friendship with Brandon Jacobs Jenkins. I've been in three of his plays here in New York. And we kind of have that trust, that back and forth, you know, very similar ideology on what's funny. And so sometimes he's been inspired by something I've done or said or improv, and you know, put that in the script, or you know, vice versa. So we have that kind of connection, and I trust actors. I trust actors. I don't think it's just because I am one. I think I trust their instincts. I trust what they believe about their characters, and sometimes they can bring something, you know, to a role that I just did not see at all. And we were so lucky to have this cast put together by the incomparable Wendy White. And it took a long time too. Like I wish we could say like, oh yeah, it was easy, but it took us almost 6.5 months to put that whole cast together. So they had, of course, they were good because we really took our time finding the right people for every role.
Yeah. And I would say I think a lot of your work is kind of I would describe them as like ensemble based
Mm,
plays rather than, a sole figure who dominates the whole story. Is
mhm.
that a conscious choice for you? Where, what does that dynamic of ensemble add to your process?
I think I'm just so in love with stories and telling different stories and different characters. And I'm like, I mean, Jaja's is really probably that's the most I'm not doing that again. I think that's the most I'm ever going to attempt at putting in a play at one time. But I think I just love the idea of people coming together and talking and having differing opinions and ideas about life and how you see that play out. I
Mhm.
don't. It was like I said. I thought I was going to write solo shows. I thought I was going to be doing this thing by myself, you know. And as it's turned out, I think I have a real love for seeing community on stage in all its various forms. So yeah, but I think 17 characters, I'm drawing the line there. There, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, well, it certainly does allow a lot of, I think, flexibility in the story to touch on so many things.
Hmm.
I was really, struck by like the ending has stayed with me so much,
Mm,
especially not only just because it's powerful, but so much of this story is a very joyous story. There's a lot of comedy to it, and we make a shift at the end where a character is, been detained, facing
mm,
deportation.
mhm.
Not every script could kind of pull off that shift. Can you talk about that end and how you shifted the tone a bit there?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I'm glad that you like that because it is, I feel like it's one of those divisive kind of endings. I feel like it's really made people, I've had some people have been like, oh my God, you ended with a cliffhanger. I need more. I need a part two.
Mm,
Or I've had some people say, you know, that end came out of nowhere and it soured the play. And then I have some who are like, I saw it coming all along, but didn't know it was gonna, you know, hit in that way. And I think my the ending has always been that. That's actually the one part of the show that has not changed in all of the rewrites and iterations. Because I knew that the structure of the play was going to be that we were going to be a day, 12 hours in the shop. We were going to end with the opening, we were going to end with the closing. And I wanted to just kind of speak to the power of what can happen in a day. And I think if all of us think back on really monumental moments in our life, getting a phone call that, you know, someone has passed away, getting a phone call that you know, got the job, getting the email that you got into, you know, your dream school, whatever it is, something that has really shifted the entire axis of your life journey. Um, it happened in that one day, you know, And I think when we start the play with all these people, namely with Marie, who's kind of, just she thinks she's just having
Mm.
a regular old, Saturday, like or whatever it is, running the shop. And then by the end, like, and she's closing that grate, her whole life has changed. And that happens. I mean, that happened, to me. I'll say, personally, just maybe 7 weeks before we started rehearsal for Jaja's, my brother suddenly died.
Oh,
And
I'm so sorry.
thank you. And it was shock. I mean, it was a
Mm.
shock. It was completely out of nowhere. It was not, there was no illness, there was no anything, it was just one of these things, had a stroke and didn't survive it.
Mm.
And I understood, even though I had written the play already, like, whatever, I understood um even 10 times more what that ending was, because I remember what that feeling was like to just get that phone call, and now my whole life has changed and we still have to go on. And we're going to find joy, we're going to have laughter, and that's why, B says that to Marie in the end, because she's falling apart, and she's like, and she tells her it's all going to be okay. And Marie's like, well, what if it's not? And she's like, then it's not. And then after that, it's going to be okay. And I think that that is the power of who we are as human beings. If you're a spiritual person, your belief, practice in God, whomever, gets you through that next day. And you're going to laugh again. You're going to go back to work. You're going to be in community with people. They're going to be there for you. All of those things are going to happen. The shop's going to open again the next day. People are going to get their hair braided, and life will go on. But Marie's life has changed. And
Mm.
um, I think that was a really important, the structure of the play was important for that to land. And so um, I'm really moved when I hear, you say that the ending has stuck with you, because that was the intent, to make you kind of reflect on those moments when they've happened to you.
Yeah. I think it is an ending that makes sense to me because it really highlights, I think, the theme in the play that really it pulled out for me was the importance of community,
Hmm.
and in those moments how important community and found family, chosen family is
Hmm.
to get us through it.
Yeah.
Was that something you were looking at originally when you wrote this piece? Like, what are the things you wanted people to walk away from with it?
100%. I mean, well, when I initially wrote the first draft of the play, it was in 2019. So we were having a very different conversation about
Mm.
immigration, about home, about creating home in another country, um, and who was allowed to be in it, and what have you. And I wanted to kind of write a response to that, because I first of all, I'm the child of immigrants who have created home here in New York City, very, very different from Ghana and West Africa. And knew now as an adult the power of what my parents' community did for them when they were figuring things out and starting a family here. So, in the case of, like, Jaja Shop, these are all women who've come from various countries, and for what it's worth, they've found community and sisterhood in each other, even if some of them don't get along, blah, blah, blah. That's family. That's family.
Right.
That's a natural, thing. But they're in the end, as we see, like, they're there for each other. It doesn't matter what is going on, they're putting all of that aside, and they're there for each other. And I think for those who experience kind of hardships, being an immigrant in this country, um, that that sense of community is sometimes the only thing that's going to get you through. So
Yeah.
it was very key for the play.
Yeah, and it's a story I think that isn't often seen on Broadway. And I'm just would love to hear from you. What did it mean to get produced at this level with your debut as a playwright with this particular story?
It meant everything. I mean, first of all, we were debuting the play cold on Broadway.
Hmm.
We had not done an off-Broadway run. We had not had an out-of-town tryout. We had not done anything. It was just like, here we are, opening cold. And I'm so appreciative to MTC and Madison Wells, LaShawns, Taraji P. Henson for trusting me and Whitney to create a beautiful and amazing experience for an audience. So it meant a lot. And I think, look, like I grew up in the city. I only went to see Broadway shows by way of the community center that I went to when we were gifted tickets. So this was not even something that my parents could afford um, to do. So to drive down 47th Street and see, the BO name on a marquee was it's pretty wild. Pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, and it extended twice, so it had an incredible run here. So
Yeah.
it's great to see. Before I let you go, I do want to ask because in addition to being a massive theater nerd, I'm a massive sci-fi nerd as well. And you
Uh-oh,
are
I know what you're
writing,
gonna ask.
no spoilers, not
I
going to
know
ask that,
spoilers,
but
no
you're a
spoilers.
writer on The Acolyte, the new Star
Yes.
Wars series, which we've seen the trailer now. It's very exciting, and it just, at least from the trailer, feels so unique and different from other Star Wars content we've had. So what is most exciting to you about that? Again, no spoilers, and why does it feel so
No,
unique
no,
to
no, I
us?
won't spoil it. Please, please. There'll be a stormtrooper behind me, ready to take my head if I do. No, I think what is thrilling and why I said yes to coming on and working on this project is that it is different. I mean, even just based on like our lead, character that you see, they have released her name, so I can say that it's May. Her name is May. But just even seeing, that image is very different for the Star Wars, canon, if you will. And that was something that I was excited to be a part of. Leslie Headland, the creator, is a really good friend and we've been fans of each other's work for many, many years. She brought me on to my first writing job as a TV writer on Russian Doll, the first season. And then a few years later, called me and was like, "Would you come on board for this Star Wars show?" Now, the joke of it is that I don't know if you can intuit just from my own work, but I'm not exactly a Star Wars person. And so our first meeting was pretty hilarious. When she asked me what I knew about Star Wars, the answer was pretty embarrassing. But to her credit, that was also why she wanted me to work on the show. She didn't want it to be a bunch of people who were really ensconced in the world and knew everything about what was legend and lore and all of the things. She wanted to have a variety of thoughts and ideas and opinions in the room from people who know every single show, every single film, backwards and forwards, have seen it in the order they came out, have seen it in the order that it's all of that, to people like me who were like, I know Harrison Ford is in space doing stuff with like a giant dog, and
That's
like,
amazing.
I'm obviously way more educated now, just so no one comes for me, but um it's a thrilling experience, and I'm really excited for people to see this world, this world that takes place, a few hundred years before um what we all kind of know most of the Star Wars lore to be. So yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. And it was also like um great to see people's reception of the trailer. Y'all are tough fans. You're very tough fans. I was nervous, but there are always going to be some folks who have dissenting opinions, but I think overall it was just like massive love and reception. So I can't wait till June 4th when a couple episodes drop. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, it looks amazing. I can't wait to see that. And congratulations on all your success with Jaja's African hair braiding.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Jocelyn. For those of you watching, make sure you stick with us for the rest of this Broadway season. And Jocelyn, thank you once again.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.